lunch hour with us. Thank you. As we talk more about salmon and the importance it has to our tribes. Up first, I'd like to welcome Casey and Lee Mitchell and invite them to provide us with an honor song.
Tasmewi, Ina Monique West, we act in that too high. So yeah, Potemki, Casey Mitchell.
Hey, Tasmewi, Ina Monique West, Hallelujah, Tzitskan, Leila Mitchell Jr.
And we're honored to sing an honor song for the opening of today's conversation and discussion, and really blessed that all of you are here to come together and for this important issue that has been ongoing for a long time, and it does feel like we're gaining some positive ground, and we just want to continue that surge for our brother and salmon and orca, and continue the fight that they have always had that we're able to help out with. So we'll sing an honor song for today's discussion, and also to honor our salmon and orca brothers in their fight. Hey, oh, hey, hey. Wait, oh, Yahweh, 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 oh, Yahweh, Wait, oh, Yahweh, 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 oh, hey. What's up, Joe? I appreciate letting us sing and honor our Salmon Orca brothers. Up next, I want to introduce the Nez Perce Tribal Executive Committee Chaplain, Mr. Arthur Broncheau.
Gracias, Casey. Beautiful song from the Mitchell brothers. Today, I would like to say a little prayer First of all, I'd like to say a prayer for each one of us, our families, and who suffered the past year of losing loved ones. And I pray for salmon, orcas, all the animals, for the ones that cannot speak for themselves. We are here as human beings to help our brothers to survive in this fast-paced world of industries which are tearing up our natural resources. And I give thanks for every one of us here fighting for our brothers, the four-legged, the fish, the winged ones. Because everything we fight for has an effect upon us human beings. I pray that we work together as human beings. Let the people who are blinded by profit, blinded for our resources so they can profit by. We need to work together as human beings, and I pray for that. And I thank everybody here to start a new beginning, which always had been here naturally. So today, Katsiaya, Aniwat, for everything you have provided us in this world, provided us with understanding of who we are. And we pray for those human beings who really don't know who they are, blinded by profit. Again, we pray for them. Again, Katsiaya, Haniwat, for everything you provided us today, because we don't know what's in the future. But again, Katsiaya. Yo, cool. Thank you.
All right, Katsiaya, for those words and prayers, Art, we'll send it back to you, Kaylani. Katsiaya.
Thank you so much, Casey and Lee, for the honor song, and Art for the wonderful blessing. We're so excited to be here today, although virtual. We're getting used to it, and we're figuring out the kinks and everything that we're doing. Apologize for the audio issues with the honor song. I think it got a little too loud and the microphone wasn't picking it up. But thank you again for everyone being here and spending your lunch hour with us today. If you were able to attend and participate, previously we've had 2 Salmon Orca summits. Our first one we were able to hold in person over at the beautiful Squaxin Island area. Our second one was virtual, and that was held in Kamiah, Idaho. And we had several tribal leaders and folks that are standing right alongside us with this mission to protect salmon, to save our rivers, and work towards bringing more orca back to the region. During that second summit, we did announce that we are starting a speaker series. I encourage you to get it on your calendar. Going forward, every month we will hold a 1-hour speaker series during the lunch hour. The first one today, but they will be every 3rd Wednesday of the month at noon. We will be getting advertising out to help promote and remind folks, but please stay tuned for those. And of course, we are keeping all of the information on our website as well, which is salmonorcaproject.com. I do want to emphasize that this is a culmination of several tribes that are coming together to fight for the salmon and orca, as well as the rivers and everything else that depends on them. Today's topic is We Are Salmon People. And we have multiple tribal leaders coming forward to talk about the importance of salmon to them and their people. As you all know, each tribe is very different, but one thing we have in common is our relationship with the salmon and what it provides, not just for sustenance, but to our culture. There's so much tied into that, from the stories and the relationships that are built among being able to utilize this precious resource. So thank you again for being here. As we move forward with our agenda, I'd first like to welcome up Chairman Andy Joseph Jr. He's from the Colville Business Council, and we are delighted to have him join us today. Good afternoon, Chairman.
Oh, why Haskella? You hutkin squeezed. Hello, good afternoon. My name's Badger Andy Joseph Jr., the chairman of the Colville Business Council. Good afternoon. I guess what I'd like to start off with is on it. Thank the singers that sang the song. You know, it's our teachings that you know, these songs come from long ways back, and they get, you know, handed down to through different generations, and it's really important that we you know, when those songs come, that they're sung in honor of you know, what we want to work on. In my teachings as a young boy, we had what we call chaptik, and that's the animal legends. Some people call them the Coyote Legends. And anyway, the coyote worked his way up the river from the ocean all the way up, and as he got to each one of the different tributaries, he asked for a wife, and if the people refused to give him a wife, then he would put barriers in the road. Up here we have what we call the Smelkamine River, and the salmon used to go up to the falls, and anyway, they put a dam there so they would only go up to the dam. The Spelum Creek also has falls, and the salmon can't make it up past them falls, but every place where they can make it up, like the Sampoil, which is up above Grand Coulee Dam, they have salmon. The salmon used to run up that river all the time. So anyway, it's our belief and the teachings also that you know, we learn from the different animals on the different foods that we eat and that we gather. And for thousands of years, our people ate salmon. We had one of the biggest fisheries in the Northwest, the Kettle Falls, and at Kettle Falls, tribes from all over the area would come there, even coming over from Montana and different places. They would come to Kettle Falls, and we had a salmon chief, and our salmon chief, his job was to distribute the salmon out to all the people, and be fair about how he distributed the salmon. Depending on the size of the family, if you had a bigger family, you got more salmon. Every day he had to do that, and there was times when there was over 1,000 pounds of salmon, you know, caught there every day. Some of the I would say some of the average size of the salmon back then was over 40 pounds. It takes a real strong salmon to make it up so far up the river. And anyway, salmon my wife is from the coast and the Port Gamble Slalom, and they actually have orcas over there. But she always wondered why I craved salmon whenever there was, salmon for dinner. And I told her that it's just a natural thing for me to want to eat salmon, and because we didn't have that much because of the Chief Joe and the Grand Coulee Dam. We have to travel clear to the Chief Joe Dam. My grandpa, George Freelander, my mom told me that when they put the dam up, that he would take some of the elders from Nispelum and they would drive all the way down to Slilo Falls, and those old ladies, 3 old ladies, would ride on the back of their truck on the teepee, on their teepees. That was their chair. But then they also had boxes and boxes of jars. So when they got down to Slilo, they would get enough salmon to fill all their jars. Plus, they smoked and dried salmon. And she said after they left there, then they would head up to Montana to Buckhorn Mountain and pick huckleberries. That was usually when they would go after the huckleberries. So anyway, our tribe is working really hard. Our fishery department, we're working on, we've did salmon releases up above Chief Joe Dam and salmon releases up above the Grand Coulee Dam, and those salmon, they ones that went up above Grand Coulee, they swam up the Sampoil River and they spawned. My son is a fish biologist, and his job is, was on the Kokanee project of the Lake Roosevelt, but now he's also collecting those little salmon smalls that come down the river. And anyway, it's really kind of emotional, when you go to one of those salmon releases, because the salmon, that spirit of all those salmon that get to be released, it touches your heart. And anyway, I just wanted to say that our tribe also declared states of emergency for suicide three times since I've been on council. And Dr. Hiblin, he said that the thing that was most chemically closest to what the brain is made up is salmon. And his he called me when I was in DC lobbying, and he told me that his prescribing fish oil pills to our people. He says that people that eat more salmon are less likely to harm themselves and commit suicide. It calms our people down. So here I told him I thought it was PTSD, because our soldiers, they went to the World War and they come home, and their way of life, their fishery was taken away from them when they put the dam in there. And a lot of our people, they didn't know how they were going to feed their families anymore. So anyway, I thought it was PTSD, and I really believe that the health disparities that our people deal with diabetes, with cancer, and now this COVID virus, our bodies, our immune system is so weak that we have the highest health disparities in the country. So that's really what salmon, means to us. in our teachings, if we take care of this world and all that we share it with the animals, the foods, the medicines, and the water, that it will always be here for us, the next 7 generations. What we do today will impact our people 7 generations from now. So, we're going to do our best to get the salmon back. And could you imagine like 1 million more salmon coming down the river? If only the government would work with us to get fish passage, up over Chief Joe and Grand Coulee Dam. That would really impact the whole Northwest fishery and not only help our tribes, but also the other tribes, that get to eat the salmon and the orca. The orca will have more salmon also, but our people are just as endangered of a species as the orcas. I just want to relay that message. We want to create a balance with this world and get things back to the way they were. But I guess that's what I have to say. Hopefully, with these meetings, we can make a big difference. White Lim, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. You bring up some wonderful points. I think one in particular that's really touching is the loss of salmon truly does have an impact on the culture. We do have a lot of individuals that are going through these different diseases and obstacles in their life and become dependent on these other negative resources such as drugs and alcohol and what have you. Activities, cultural activities in particular, are one thing that can take place of those negative crutches. So to have fishing and be able to actually fish and catch a substantial amount as they used to be able to go out with your families, to be able to hear stories from your elders, that's so vital and can truly make a difference in solving some of these issues that we already face in Indian country. And that's outside of the health issues we're already looking at. So thank you for bringing that up. Very, very good points, and greatly appreciate having you on today.
One more thing, if I may. I would say some of my best teachings ever was when I would go down to Chief Joe Dam and fish with the elders. They would kind of teach me in a traditional way about the respect and the honor of being able to fish and anyway, I just think that we could use these cultural tools to make our people better people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Up next, I would like to have Hemi James, council member from the Coeur d'Alene tribe, come forward. You might remember him providing some very touching comments at a previous Salmon Orca summit. So thank you for joining us today. Chief Allen was not able to make it, and we were so pleased to have Hemi fill in for him. So thank you.
Thank you, Kaylana. And again, I send my regards from the chairman. Life of a chairman of a tribe. We all know that you get pulled 1,500 different ways. So when he asked me to speak for him, as you guys have realized already, I'm more than happy to speak for this aspect of a figure that's so centralized in not only our culture and our substance, but what has been the essential figure of all of our existences, Northwest Indigenous people. So thank you for having me today and giving me this opportunity. I'd like to thank the singers today, the words of our elder prayer. It's important that we always draw upon our spirituality when we have these discussions, because that gets lost in this fast moving paced world that we have, that spiritual connection to our not only our homelands, but all life that lives upon it. So I always appreciate that we still observe that from our teachings from our elders of connecting not with the physical being of the fish or the dirt, but each one of their spirits. So I appreciate that very much. I guess I will start by saying, although my people haven't had fish for decades upon decades, we still see ourselves as salmon people. We still view ourselves with that connection to the water, to those beings that come up and provided life for all the rest of the life here in our country. And we haven't forgot that even with the impediments of these imaginary lines that have been drawn, these physical beings of walls put in our river, we still view ourselves that way. We've gotten lost a little bit. We've got our lives become muddled with all of this dynamics of a monetary system that European culture has put on us. But it brings great joy to me and makes my heart and spirit feel good that we're starting to have these calls. This momentum's picking up where Indigenous people from this entire region are recognizing and realizing that we fought these battles on our own individual fronts. But until we get together and we truly accept our responsibility in fighting, and I will throw it out there, fighting the federal government on this, until we get together and get that one voice going forward for this being that has kept us alive for tens of thousands of years, nothing will get done. They continue to throw these roadblocks, these political processes, these focus groups. They continue to throw these stumbling blocks to us, but we continue to pick up the momentum regionally and nationally to get people to understand what this being of the salmon means to us. My elder from the Colville, chairman, said it beautifully. PTSD, health, physical health issues, mental health issues, these are all related to this being taken out of our day-to-day lives. I will build upon that by saying our social lives, not just within our own tribal nations, but a nation relationship here in the region. It was those camps, whether there's Kettle Falls or Spokane Falls or Celilo Falls or whatever the run may be, when those thousands and thousands of natives got together, where do you think a lot of our marriages came from? Where do you think a lot of our political agreements were made from? Sometimes that was the only time that you've seen some of your good friends, was those salmon runs. Imagine the conversations of the old ones that have been coming to those places for 80 years, the stories they could tell. And all of us young people would be sitting there listening to these stories. That's an essential part of what it meant to be a Northwest Indigenous person. And that aspect of our lives was ripped away. We're trying to rebuild that not only within region, but within our own people. Our own people have forgotten songs that have been lost, aspects of our language that are lost. And I tie that directly into the loss of the central figure in our existence. So when we get together in these calls and I see we have 160 people on the call, whether you're affiliated with an Indigenous nation or not, that is what was lost within our day-to-day lives, our very existence. The social, the health, the mental health aspect of that's what this fish meant to us. That's what this spirit meant to us. It's not just us as the human beings, but all life. My riparian zones aren't what they should be. The eagle populations aren't what they should be. The vegetation isn't what it should be, because that central spirit, that central figure, the salmon, is not here anymore. So that's where I think we're trying to get to. We're trying to get people to understand that yes, we want to be able to eat those fish whenever we want. We want that put back into our diets. I'm a fisherman. I love it. I was fortunate enough, my dad is a member of the Quinault Indian Nation. Although I was raised here, I'm an enrolled Coeur d'Alene member. My dad is a member of the Quinault Indian Nation. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go fish on his waters and hear those songs and see those ceremonies. But I want to give that to my kids. Those kids that their fishing experience is catching bass out of our lake, catching a pike out of our lake. We don't have any traditional songs that are meant for those times. And I think the way we get to this first is getting together and having these conversations and having these informative forums for people to listen in. But I think when we truly want to make a difference, we get that centralized voice, we have to, as individual nations, accept our personal responsibility. Accept our responsibility of what it's going to take to get fish, the runs back to what, at least as close as we can, back to those traditional runs. First and foremost, you have to throw out there the Columbia River system, which is central into all of our existence, whether you're a saltwater tribe or a Columbia Basin tribe. It's the biggest artery we have running into the mainland, the biggest opportunity for these salmon to spawn. And the system cannot be whole until we open up those places that salmon cannot reach. Right now, 40% of the Columbia River system is blocked to salmon. How can we get the health of this being back up to where it should be when we cut off just under half of their nurseries? So it's my thought and my thinking that the salmon cannot come close to be recovering until we open up those areas, whether it's dam removal or fish passage or whatever that may be. And I ain't talking about just so I can get them here in my country, here on the Coeur d'Alene Reservation. I'm talking, I'm in the middle of it. I'm talking up to the headwaters of Canada, up over into Montana. I mean, the system cannot recover until we allow it and we give it the opportunity. And the reason it doesn't have the opportunity is what we always run into with the federal government. It is a conscious decision from the federal government to not adjust the operation of their dams, whether that is removal or passage. It is their decision that they consciously make. Now, 80 years later, we've got into the conversations of authority and all the stakeholders, and now they want to take the advice of the stakeholders. We're the original stakeholders, and they've negated our voice and negated our needs and our wishes for nearly a century. But on that respect, we have to accept that we have certain mitigation money that gets thrown our ways. Some tribes more than others. I can tell you from here in Coeur d'Alene country that there's other tribes out there that have singular pieces of equipment that are bigger than my entire annual budget of mitigation funds. We have to be willing to put our monetary compensation on the line to get this moved forward. We can't hesitate. On one hand, we really want this going on, but man, we're going to lose this funding. If we truly want to make a difference, we have to look at ourselves as nations and prioritize what that is and what that means. We here in Coeur d'Alene country don't have any fish to put on the line. I understand that fully. We don't have a big budget to risk in this process, but we have our self-respect and the knowledge that those elders that made so many sacrifices throughout the past 150 years of our dealing with the federal government had this idea that they would pay the price so that we as Indigenous people could live as close as possible to the life that we've lived for tens of thousands of years. And I can tell you that their idea was not did not involve not having salmon. They paid the price so one day that this fight could be taken up again. They had no say when those dams were built. All they had was a voice that was not getting listened to at the time. We have the opportunity in today to go out aggressively and make them listen and understand that this is central to the agreements that were made over a century ago between our relations and their leaders at the time. They do their ancestors no justice in their actions today. And as individual nations, we have to understand that it's not about treaty rights. It's not about executive order rights. It's not about human rights. It's not about social rights. It's the right to exist. And that salmon has a right to exist. We have a right to exist. And we as nations cannot fully heal that until those we get that central figure back into our daily existence and our social existence and our physical existence. So I look forward to where this is going. It makes my heart feel so good to have these conversations amongst ourselves, and personally my people give me the opportunity to speak on the salmon's behalf. And I think we're moving in the right direction. I'm pleased and happy that you guys allow me to be a participant and listen to my thoughts and my ideas. Lemla, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today again. We greatly appreciate you sharing and painting a picture of the reality of a future that we could potentially see if we don't all come forward. I think yourself and many others, they're going to go down swinging till those dams are breached. But it's going to take more than that. We need more people to step forward and get behind this to really save the salmon and bring them back to the populations they once were. So thank you for being here today. Up next, I'd like to bring forward Joe Oatman. Joe is the Deputy Manager for the Nez Perce Tribe's Fisheries Department. He is an expert in his field, and I am so glad he could join us today to provide some of his expertise to share with the rest of you.
Thank you, Caroline, for that introduction. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here to participate in this Salmon Orca speaking series. So what I'd like to do today is to address the following. That is, what do they know? And I want to be able to provide a perspective from a fish manager. For those of you who chose to attend today and may have seen in the invite this following statement, and that is, we know that for every 100 salmon smolts headed to the ocean, less than 2 return to their breeding grounds in the Snake River. Every year, we lose over 98% of our salmon, leading them down a path towards extinction. I hope to share with you today what numbers like this mean to the Nez Perce. As fish managers and stewards, we deal with numbers all the time in the work that we do. As a salmon people, we deal with numbers of fish as those relate to fulfilling the needs of our communities, our culture, and our livelihoods and economy. Nez Perce live in the heart of salmon country in the Snake River Basin and its tributaries, located in what is now known as Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. Historically, this region was a major salmon producer with annual returns of up to 2 million fish or so. In 1855, the United States entered into a treaty with the tribe. In this treaty, the tribe explicitly reserved, among other provisions, the exclusive right of taking fish on a reservation, as well as the right of taking fish at all usual custom places off reservation, as well as the right of hunting and pasturing horses. In return, the United States and its citizens gained millions of acres of land in exchange. Reserving our rights to fish in this treaty was essential because every member from their youth old age ate salmon, Around treaty time, the nest Perce consumed an estimated 300 to 564 pounds of fish per person, amounting to an annual harvest at a minimum of 150,000 fish to probably something more than 300,000 fish. Half of the total daily caloric needs in a traditional nest Perce diet came from salmon, while the other half came from wildlife, roots and berries, and other resources of the area. Salmon are a healthy superfood, as they are a good source of high quality protein, omega-3 fatty acids, are low in saturated fat, rich in vitamin and minerals, and promote strong bones, brain development, and healthy immune and cardiovascular systems. These fish really made salmon people healthy. The modern Pacific Northwest, with its massive irrigation, hydropower, and storage systems, was built on the backs of tribal people from the 1930s on. Through the use and destruction of lands, rivers, and fisheries we have lived with for thousands of years. Today, we are at risk of losing salmon steelhead populations to extinction, given their poor survival due to the wide range of natural and human-caused impacts. Thus, as salmon suffer, so do we. There's a whole other side to this that hasn't been accounted for when it comes to the real-life impacts to tribal people. The impacts to our health and well-being have been and continue to be devastating and unrelenting. We have higher rates of unemployment and poverty, higher rates of diabetes, inflammatory and cardiovascular disease, high rates of alcoholism and other addictions and suicides. Our people have experienced poor health over multiple generations because not having salmon in sufficient quantities, which, when coupled with more recent events such as the alarming decline of fish, the poor ocean and freshwater conditions due to climate change, and the COVID-19 pandemic, leaves us in a very dire predicament. Today, there are really very few areas where we can go catch salmon or steelhead, and even those areas provide relatively few fish to spread across needs of our people. Harvest in recent years has been an incredibly small fraction of historic harvest. In fact, fish runs in recent years have only provided around 1 to 2 fish per tribal member per year. When tribal members are unable to fish consistently and to harvest fish at these hard levels, the cumulative social, cultural, and economic effect is severe. The harm from one season to the next can compound. Tribal members that start a season in a hole or financial and subsistence deficit will have a harder time digging out over time and will likely end up further and further behind. In such circumstances, tribal members must find alternative ways to put food on the table and acquire other basic goods to support themselves and their families, all of which is at a detriment to their culture, identity, and well-being. Each year, we have elders and others who pass on from this life without ever experiencing a healthy and harvestable run of salmon. Whole generations of families have not been able to go to all of our fishing places and spend the quality time to fish and camp together as we once enjoyed, and to share in the kind of joy that only salmon fishing and the rivers can bring. We suffer by having little to no time at culturally significant fishing places, vital to providing meaningful connections to land, water, and resources. Bringing back the fish and our fishing is all part of an effort to restore balance in our lives and that of the watersheds. While we are on the verge of losing even more wild and salmon steelhead runs to extinction, there appears to be an unnecessarily slow response to what is unquestionably an urgent call for action to do what must be done with the little time we may have left to do so. Tribes throughout the Columbia Basin have developed sophisticated fish restoration programs that have been instrumental in protecting and rebuilding fish runs. Tribes such as the Nez Perce are the salmon leaders, the salmon stewards, and the salmon managers, bringing knowledge, science, and experience to the entirety of ecosystems that salmon rely upon. The Nez Perce bring a lot to the table when it comes to fish management. As a harvest manager, we participate in ocean and in-river harvest management forums. We use abundance-based harvest management approach to set our treaty harvest and fishery seasons and enforce our laws as those relate to the number of fish that can be harvested sustainably in the Snake Basin. As a hatchery manager, we use hatcheries to put fish in rivers, allowing them to spawn as well as to provide for harvest. We produce and release about 12 to 13 million juvenile salmon and steelhead out of the 30 to 40 million juveniles released annually in the Snake Basin. This is about a third of the total releases. An example of our success is the 24,000 coho salmon that returned to the Snake River in the fall of 2021, a species that was declared extirpated in the 1980s. As a fishery science and research experts, we monitor activities in the runs to determine how things are comparing to established goals and respond when intervention is needed. We collect, review, and evaluate information on fish in, fish out metrics, status of fish populations. We work to ensure genetic diversity of these fish, allowing for population persistence and adaptation, and developing fishery science recommendations to inform and guide the work that we do. As a habitat restoration expert, we practice a ridge top to ridge top approach for watershed protection and restoration of rearing and spawning habitats and protection of water quality. We identify and fix degraded habitat. We protect existing key salmon habitat in the watershed, as well as improving access for fish to get to and from available habitat. And as a partner in Columbia River hydro operations, the tribe is calling for the urgent restoration of the Lower Snake River to a free-flowing river through breaching of the 4 Lower Snake River dams. We continue to strive to address the impacts of dams and human development. We review, evaluate, and propose hydro system operations to reduce juvenile and adult passage mortality, as well as protect water flows and passage for upstream and downstream migrants. Despite this effort by the tribe to restore fish we depend upon, the Snake River Basin still does not provide the fisheries to support our people as they once did. The threats and impact to fish from the ocean to the headwaters still remain. Tribal programs can serve as a centerpiece to salmon restoration in the Columbia Basin, and this work should be expanded in scope, size, and pace to match the rapid changes underway in the ocean and in freshwater habitat as a result of climate change, while remaining focused on addressing those legacy and persistent factors that continue to limit salmon abundance and productivity. The tribe strongly supports Congressman Simpson's proposal. It addresses the salmon extinction crisis, the climate crisis, and the long-ignored tribal injustice of the effects of the Columbia River system dams on Indian people. It solves the urgent needs of salmon by restoring the Lower Snake River to a free-flowing river, provides improved operations at the Columbia River dams, provides a significant new investment in fish and wildlife funding for habitat restoration and other salmon restoration action, and reintroduces salmon in the Upper Columbia and Upper Snake River Basin. At the same time, the Simpson proposal describes a better, smarter future for the Northwest. Precisely targeted river restoration, intensive investment in new clean energy, infrastructure, and technology, and long-term legal certainty. As we move forward, the next Perce will continue to work to maintain and advance our way of life and culture for the present and as well as future generations, and to achieve outcomes that work for salmon, steelhead, and lamprey for the communities in the Pacific Northwest. I greatly appreciate this opportunity to share my perspective of salmon management and efforts underway to restore balance for the salmon and the salmon people in the Snake Basin. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Joe. It's wonderful information you're bringing forward there. and we're so glad to have you on. I know you've been in the background of a lot of the presentations we've brought forward to this point, so it's great to actually put a face to some of the information that's going out. And it all just rings true. There's so many different components to the Simpson proposal that we've really looked into deeply to see the impacts it would have on us. And we've really had to look at our priorities and align those to make sure they match with our culture and our ambitions. And we know that we need to put the salmon in the rivers first. And while we'll witness and deal with the negative impacts of what needs to be done in regards to breaching those dams, we know where our heart is, and it's bringing those salmons back to the number that they used to be. So thank you for bringing that forward. I truly appreciate it. Up next, and to round out the end of our agenda, we did have to do a slight change. So I'd like to bring forward Nez Perce Tribe Executive Committee Vice Chairman Shannon Wheeler. He's probably a familiar face to you all. He's definitely been one of our champions behind this project. And I'll go ahead and hand it over from here, and maybe he'll sing us a song.
Well, thank you, Kaylani, once again, and appreciate everybody for being here today and the words that have been spoken up to this point. Definitely heartfelt for me as always. And as you can see in my background, that's one of the Lower Snake River tributaries. That's the South Fork of the Salmon River, which we frequent often. But as Joe had mentioned in his report, last year we were able to harvest one fish per tribal member, about not even that out of there last year, less than 100 fish going into that system. So, just to give an update on the things that have, we as tribes have united with one another. We have united with the conservation groups that are witnessing what's happening out here too in this river system. And as we continue to unite, there's the momentum that picks up. Those that are able to do something about this to help create change, our agents of change that are elected officials, congressional leaders that are currently sitting in the current Congress, and the governors of the states are hearing that voice coming forward, and the administration as well. The administration hearing our voice, and that's a voice of unity that's coming forward. And as we continue to progress, to let everyone know that removal of the earthen portions or breaching of the Lower Snake River dams is what's needed in order to recover the salmon of this Lower Snake River. Also, as you hear our brothers talk and our brothers and sisters talk of the blocked areas behind Grand Coulee and Chief Joseph and the Upper Snake River tribes, the Shoshone Paiutes, the Shoshone Bannocks, that there's plenty of waters up there too that was once habitat for salmon and are no longer there. But those things need to be changed because of the ability of the salmon to come back to full strength, and a result of that is from what you've heard from many of the speakers today, but also the orca populations that are so important. The salmon are so important to that as well, and we don't see the difference between the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho. This is one system. This is all the Columbia River system, and it was at one time, and once again, could be the one of the leading producers of salmon in the world. And I, for that matter is what that means to not only us as Native peoples, but to the economies as well of this nation. And so all of this work that has been happening, we've shared each other's stories, and we also have committed to resolutions and and producing these resolutions and moving them forward on a united front at AT&I and NCAI. But that voice is being heard. The administration has reached out, and the administration's agenda, their commitment to restoring salmon and honoring treaties, and commitments to tribal nations in the Columbia Basin while ensuring reliable clean energy and addressing the needs of the key stakeholders is just one of the things that the administration is doing. And we're glad that they're listening and hearing, and they understand that there is a extinction crisis here, a climate crisis, but also at the same time, there's things that they can do. There's things that they can do currently that the former administration had done, like the EIS and the biological opinion and the record of decision. Now, if we look at this administration now, can they honor that, or will they honor that biological or record of decision that was under the former administration that would last for 15 years? And those are the types of things that this administration is listening to and wanting to get to the bottom of this. And then our congressional leaders and the governor of Washington, Governor Inslee and Senator Murray are producing a study on if dams were breached, what would have to happen. And those discussions are happening. They're happening with tribal sovereigns. They're happening with stakeholders of what would we have to do different? And they're getting to the nuts and bolts of Congressman Simpson's proposal and the framework that he has presented as of February a year ago is right in line with that. And we're glad that Congressman Simpson has put this framework in place, and a lot of these things that are running parallel, the work of the administration, the work of the tribes and the groups that have joined together, and the Murray Inslee work that's being done. And as that continues to move forward and we look to build a stronger, better Pacific Northwest and also develop for the future, things are happening. We know things are happening. We know momentum is growing. We know that the science already speaks for itself. And that's what we're happy about today. We're happy that momentum is continuing. We're happy that you're here today. And we'll be even happier when in my background, when you'll be able to see that water moving up the other way with fish backs and the fins of fish making that water look like it's a tidal wave moving backward. Those are the stories that we were told and our people have been witness to, and that's what we would like to see again. And with the help of this administration, with the help of the work that's being done by Murray and Inslee, and their work that's happening, the help of all of you, the help of all of the tribes coming together and making a difference and really truly being the agents of change is why we're here. We're all placed in this place for purpose, and we know what the purpose is. And we're just looking forward to more success. We're looking forward to the upcoming speaker series that will be happening with other tribes being involved, other tribes hosting. You know, we have the Shoshone-Bannock, we have the Yakima Nation, we have the coastal tribes, we have Nisqually, we have all these different tribes that are all going to be a part of this and will continue to be a part of this, and at unity as we come together and continue to push forward for this way of life. So with that, I thank you, and that's a current update, a current overview. It's not all the nuts and bolts of it, but that's the current overview of what currently is happening. And we appreciate the administration's outreach to the tribal sovereigns, and we appreciate Governor Inslee and Senator Murray for the work and that they're fast tracking to get this work done by June of 2022 in order to meet those litigation stay deadlines of July 2022. So we appreciate everything, and we appreciate everybody being here, and we appreciate sticking together in unity and moving things forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Wheeler. Always a pleasure to have you come forward and provide your words. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our leaders for coming forward and providing your comments. It's truly been a pleasure. As I mentioned, this is just the first of the series. Please mark your calendars for February 16th. That'll be our next one, and stay tuned. If you aren't already, please be sure to follow us on social media through the Salmon Orca Project. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also encourage you to go to salmonorcaproject.com. There you'll find the letter of action, and we encourage you to sign on to that and get that sent to your delegation to put your voice out there, letting them know that it's time for change. We're ready to breach those dams. We're ready to bring the salmon back and to save the orca. So please step forward and sign on and do those things. Thank you for joining today. Just one last check. Shannon, did we have anything else to add?
I thought we had a surprise guest here in the facility. I'm not sure if he's up front or where he's at right now, but he was going to sing a song, and I'm not sure if he's here or not. So.
Okay. Did you want to check on that, or?
Yeah, just give me one moment, please.
Okay.
One moment.
While he's checking on that, I also wanted to just note that this video or this session is being recorded, and that will be added to the salmonorcaproject.com website. So if you didn't get a chance, or if your friends or somebody didn't get a chance to watch, or you didn't get a chance to see the whole thing, please stay tuned for that, as it will be posted there along with all of our updates. We have the past summits on there, as well as some of our press releases and some of the things that we're working on. So stay tuned for that. And as Shannon had mentioned, we have several leaders that are coming forward from different tribes and hosting those and bringing forward information from their tribes too. This is a long-standing fight, and
Introduce you, and you can sit
forward with it. So please stay tuned. But that letter is vital, and we really encourage folks to go on and sign it. We've had several so far, but we can use more. Really need to get the word out there as we continue to do these sessions and speak with folks. Just as Hemi had mentioned, we need this. We need these voices to come together and really put a foot forward to say this is what we need and this is what we want. Not just for us, but for everybody. The tribes, we are salmon people, and we've got to stand up for those salmon. They put their lives on the line for us, and we need to do the same. So to finish us out, I'd like to bring forward Mr. Picard, and he is going to close us out with a song. Thank you again for being with us today, and we will see you next time. Mr. Picard, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thank you. My name's Ashton Picard, just here to go ahead and end you guys off with the song today. I'd like to thank our NEPTIC members for giving me this opportunity, and hope you all have learned a lot today during your summit. Katsiaya. Ah!